Boy, Stevie, you really play good.
You like
play
it?
so good. Do you think you could teach me something? Please,
I got something just for you, Grover.
Oh, yeah? Oh, good,
just
good.
for you. Just
go
for
ahead,
you.
go ahead.
Goes like this.
Sesame Street saw all the holes that existed, and they filled them. It was so revolutionary.
Sunny days, sweeping the clouds away.
Look right in there, Bert.
In there?
You right in there?
To where the air is sweet. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
I am an amazing music teacher.
Yes, I'm excited.
Sesame Street knows that you can make huge changes a little bit at a time.
We spent the last 50 years building expertise.
And when something new comes, we're there too. We're always right there.
How to get to Sesame Street? Oh, yeah.
Hi, Elmo.
Sesame Street.
Sesame has always been about education and meeting the world in the way that it needs to.
It's the emotional tie to all those millions of kids who are watching on a global basis.
Kids are being showered in this positivity about learning, even if they don't even know that they're learning.
Sesame Street is us.
It can take you to magical places. You have magical adventures. It doesn't get old. It just evolves and gets better.
Sesame Street's planting all of these little seeds of empathy and love and acceptance. That doesn't exist anywhere else in our society. Like nowhere.
It does something nobody else has ever done or could ever do as well.
Hey, Stevie, talk to him.
Sunny days, sweeping the clouds away.
It's Sesame Street.
On my way to where the air is sweet. Oh, all right. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
You want to hear it?
Oh, boy. I don't look at my face, folks, because the face doesn't work with the voice. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make bath time lots of fun. Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond of you. Vo-vo-vo-dee-o.
Hola, it's me. Oh, boy, am I glad to see you again.
Eat cookie slowly.
Well, my name's Oscar the Grouch.
Oscar!
Are you asleep, Bert? Bert?
My first memory of watching Sesame Street is Ernie having insomnia. Bert foolishly telling Ernie to count sheep. And somehow that escalates into counting a balloon that explodes the entire apartment.
One?
That particular scream was, I think, the first time I had a gut-holding laugh.
Ernie, you gotta break Ernie.
There was always a celebration of otherness. You had personality differences, like the Grouch, and Big Bird being almost like a baby. I believe that you're here.
I honestly can't remember a time growing up where we didn't have Sesame Street on the television.
My mom realized she could turn Sesame Street on and just let me be. She could go take care of herself.
Some ways, it was some of my first introduction to comedy as well, because it's so relentlessly funny.
Aha!
My favorite character was the Count.
Aha, yes!
He had a wonderfully bold personality.
It's that day at the Count's castle. Aha!
The friendly vampire helping you, learn how to count worked for me.
All the things that Twilight did for vampires, the Count did more. Made vampires cool, because they could count.
Puppets can be anything. That's a puppet now. A Muppet is a specific style of puppetry invented by Jim Henson for television.
In the very first inceptions, doing test episodes for Sesame Street, the humans were separated from the Muppets.
I've got two hands.
And they realized in testing with kids that once the Muppets were gone, the children didn't really care about the humans as much.
And here we
have it. The part of the body we are going to talk about today. The head.
I remember my first scene with Grover.
Authentic, cute little head.
It took me a while to really be comfortable, not try to upstage them. And that's the same with kids. You give them the platform and get out of their way.
I don't know if Sesame Street would still be on the air if the Muppets had not been part of it from the beginning. Their color and their vibrancy and the joy that they express are just this ideal educational medium.
See? That's happy.
I mean, as a child, you don't really recognize the learning. You just think it's part of the fun.
It felt like a conversation they were having with you as a kid. It was like, hey, come on to Sesame Street, hang out with us, and they would talk to you about their problems, their lives, things they're trying to solve. You felt included in the discussion.
We know that children are capable of handling real life. A lot of them are living it every day. Henson and Sesame Street changed the conversation around that.
Snuffy, Alice.
Daddy!
Oh.
Hiya, Daddy!
So, are you guys ready to go to the playground?
We shot a divorce show years ago, which you have not seen. You're shaking your head, and you have not seen this one. This is...
I have seen it.
How did you get that? Nobody else has that. You saw that show. Surprise, surprise, it's an issue, and Sesame dealt with it and had Snuffy's parents getting divorced and him trying to deal with it.
Okay, kids, here you are. Home.
Home, Daddy. Home. Home, Daddy.
No, Alice. I don't live here anymore. Remember?
They did all kinds of research on this show. They researched that show as much as Sesame has researched anything, ever.
Bye, Daddy.
And then they screened it for kids, and the kids freaked out. There was fear reaction. There was confusion. And I went to the producers. I said, oh, come on. It's so important. Just get it out there. And they said, no, it would be irresponsible to do that. All the work we did on it, all the money that was invested in it, all the time, they tossed it out.
No one in TV is egoless, but all that said, Sesame Street has proven the value of humility and listening.
We used to say every year was an experimental year. And we are talking about real life issues.
Many people just avoid the topics that they know are going to be lightning rods. Sesame Street goes straight for it, and they handle every one of them with the amount of thoughtfulness and research and care that they require.
They'll pivot, they'll adjust, they'll say, we got it wrong and now we're going to get it right. That's one of the great virtues. That's part of why the show has been on for 51 years.
How's the Spanish going, Mr. Hooper?
Oh, terrific. What I really applaud Sesame Street for doing is really not holding back and letting children and adults know what the truth is.
Will Lee died last night at the age of 74. He's better known to millions of children in this country as Mr. Hooper from Sesame Street.
Hello? 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 Hello, Big Bird. Hey, you knew it was me, huh? Yep. Hey, Mr. Looper? Hooper?
He was such an iconic figure and presence and heart of the street.
It's as easy as A-B-Z. I mean C.
When he passed away, there was a huge loss.
I call him Hooper Super Duper Abracadabra Tool-Maker.
Death is part of life, and so often parents don't know how to help children cope with the loss of a loved one. We always take the position that we can handle tough topics with children, so we should tackle this.
Time for your presents.
We all knew that what we were doing meant something and had not really been done before.
In the episode, Big Bird created all of these drawings for each of the cast members.
Oh, look at that one. That's nice. Where is he? I want to give it to him. I know. He's in the store.
The feeling on the set that day was, it was sad and it was sweet.
Big Bird, don't you remember we told you? Mr. Hooper died. He's dead.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Well, I'll give it to him when he comes back.
Big Bird, when people die, they don't come back.
John Stone directed that show. He was very clear with the cast to say, we're going to do this once. I want you to all be prepared, and I don't want anyone busting the scene for any other reason. We're going to do this once, and we're going to get it right.
You're right, Big Bird. It'll never be the same around here without him.
You know, there wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Well, I don't understand. You know, everything was just fine. Why does it have to be this way? Give me one good reason.
Big Bird, it has to be this way because.
Just because?
Just because.
It's still breathtaking and tear-generating television because if you watch it, the cast members are crying real tears.
That's Hooper, Big Bird. Hooper.
When I think about what that episode means, it meant that the folks at Sesame could talk to kids in a thoughtful and meaningful way, learning about this in real time, and that it was okay to make kids feel sad. And I can't underestimate the importance of that.
These are not just defining moments for a show, it's defining moments for us as a society, how we're going to talk to children about these issues. And that's really important.
I mean, 50 years to stay on television is unheard of. It literally is unheard of.
Welcome to Sesame Street.
It can be a rough world to dive into, but Sesame Street does it unapologetically.
We've talked about AIDS.
Hello, I'm Kimmy.
Adoption.
No, thank you, baby.
Immigration, poverty.
Let's learn about autism.
We're talking about establishment, institutional, legacy television. You can make big choices.
If you don't trust Sesame Street to handle something difficult, I don't think you're going to trust anybody to do it.
The killing of George Floyd and other African Americans at the hands of police has protesters taking to the streets.
The shooting death of Breonna Taylor, the 26-year-old,
25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery,
Elijah McClain,
Jacob Blake.
Daddy, Mama doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are all these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to protest.
Protest?
What Sesame Street has accomplished in its multi-decade run is bringing the most important conversations to the forefront for kids everywhere. And I think creating a sense of feeling seen and feeling known. What happened to George Floyd isn't new, but something about it was a watershed moment and a shift for the consciousness of our country to no longer get to ignore the present reality of racism.
Racism? What's that?
Oh, racism is when people treat other people unfairly because of the way they look or the color of their skin.
Following the murder of George Floyd, the company decided to make a company-wide goal of addressing racial injustice.
Sesame Street is rising up to the moment and addressing what's going on, what the kids are seeing and feeling around them.
Sesame Street is still this place that magically somehow combines a comforting bill of fare with these characters while also taking on the hardest things we have to face.
The Sesame Street Muppets help tell the stories. Character design is not drawing characters. Character design is communicating through this visual, and it's storytelling. Like the minute you see a character, the story has begun.
Elmo comes in, notice Elmo.
Hey guys, can you be quiet outside, please?
Okay. So this is, yeah. All right, so from top of scene in 5, 4, 3, 2.
The Walker family is a new family that we're creating for a racial justice initiative. And it is a wonderful dad called Elijah and his son, Wes.
Wes is a 5-year-old black boy. He loves making new friends. He loves reading. He's fascinated by architecture. He's a very happy, energetic, innocent child.
Congratulations. Thank you. I was bullied in school as a kid for being black, and that's something that can really hurt you when you don't entirely know how to talk about it. And Wes is going to be able to be the channel through which these kids can understand that they're not alone and that it's okay to talk about these things, and he can help identify what these things are.
Wes has his dad, Elijah. Elijah's a 35-year-old meteorologist.
Wow.
He loves movies, a huge movie buff. He likes exercising, and he also likes cooking with his family.
Look at that, they got the fade right and everything. That's what I was saying. Yeah. The little details are just like really important. So I don't know, somebody's gonna see this at home and they're gonna be like, oh yeah. Like you don't think it'll make a big deal, but it really does when you're watching at home.
There's so much credibility with Sesame Street because there's half a century of excellence behind it.
One of the things that made Sesame Street feel different than other kids shows is that it had celebrities on there.
1, 2, 3. Sesame Street. Every celebrity that I ever grew up idolizing was on Sesame Street.
That's a A.
Richard Pryor, James L. Jones, Lena Horne, Stevie Wonder.
It was a rite of passage for famous people at a certain point. Can I get that Sesame Street gig?
Hey, Dr. J.
Because that's when you know you really made it, when Sesame Street calls you.
A lot of children's programming prior to Sesame Street was either really boring.
Good morning. What day is it?
Just classroom learning, very proper. Or it was kind of that really loud baby boomer thing like Howdy Doody Time.
Howdy Doody, boys and girls.
It's kind of assaultive. Hey kids, we're coming at you.
What time is it? Good night, kids. Wave to everybody. Ready on the stump? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody.
Sesame Street, when it began, was the blackest show in the history of television. Joan Gans Cooney was really adamant that the show be racially integrated because to really get across to a black kid watching at home, he or she has to see themselves reflected on the screen. And that was one of the really revolutionary things about Sesame Street.
Sally, you've never seen a street like Sesame Street. Everything happens here. You're gonna love it.
I don't remember another space on children's television where I could see people who look like me. It was never about exclusion, it was always about inclusion. So if we can have a bright blue monster, we can have a black family.
We needed to see that because you're a little girl, you're in, Brooklyn and you're watching Sesame Street.
Hi, Raphael.
It's nice to know that when you opened your door and you walked down your stoop, you had the same type of people on your television.
We showed diversity, we showed inclusion, we modeled it through our characters. But you can't just show characters of different ethnicities and different races getting along. That was fine before. Now what we need to do is we need to be bold and explicit.
We realized that nothing was hitting the moment the way it needed to be. And so we pivoted to address it. And the curriculum we developed is going to be groundbreaking going forward.
It's just one less thing to think about. I wear them all the time.
Try your entrance, gentlemen.
Well, melanin is something that we each have inside our bodies that makes the outside of our bodies the color that it is.
At some point, kids are going to have to learn about the real world. And I think if you're going to have someone explain it to them, why not have Sesame Street do it?
Because I don't know any kid that doesn't grow up watching Sesame Street.
Look really cool together.
Gone are the days where the blue monsters don't like the red monsters, and hopefully kids pull out of that racism exists, and I should love my neighbor, and the experiences of black and brown folks is different than me as a white individual. Like, kids aren't pulling that stuff out of there. They need it actually very concretely.
Many people call this race.
50 years in, we're still doing brand new things we've never done before. Meeting the needs of what's happening right now in the world means listening, means paying attention. Because a lot of times people react, but we respond.
For Sesame Street to be looking for ways and looking for kids who are so marginalized, they're trying to speak to every one of those different kids. And that's who else is doing that? Nobody. Nobody's doing that. That's a story that nobody's telling.
When I walk down the streets of New York, I do get recognized as Maria. I will say that my fans are getting older and older. As a matter of fact, they're so old, they often ask me out for a martini. That's how old they are.
My name begins with this letter.
That?
Yeah, and my name is Maria.
Maria. I don't even measure. Maria.
Women could do the same things that men could do, sometimes even better.
I'll tell you what I was aware of. I was aware that in 1969, there were no people of color on television.
Once upon a time, there was a typical American girl who happened to bump into a typical red-blooded American boy.
Mr. and Mrs. Brady?
Yes. And you grow up really not putting your finger on what it is that's not right. You're not really sure what it is that's uncomfortable for you.
Lisa, one of these days, I'm going to buy a farm and get away from all this.
No, of course you will, darling.
And then when you see somebody like you on television, you go, oh, what a relief. I exist.
I'm gonna go to work. This is my first day on a new job.
Really?
As a construction worker.
I used to wonder, how was I going to contribute to a society that didn't see me? Where did I fit in?
Good as new.
I didn't realize I was going to step into this magnificent show.
¿Dónde está el buzón? You know, say it like you mean it.
Seeing Maria meant everything to me. Everything.
S, the letter V, and the number 3.
As a Puerto Rican kid growing up in Brooklyn, she was the one that I was inspired to become. She was my Mary Tyler Moore.
Okay, now, say hola. That means hello in Spanish.
It was important to be represented. I mean, the only Latino before that was Desi Arnaz that I used to watch on I Love Lucy, and he was a dude.
Isn't it sad? Desi Arnaz was our only hero for years? Come on, people. There was nothing. Nada.
You got to understand that in the late 60s, early 70s, women really weren't strong characters on television. They were supporting roles.
Well, there are so many flighty young girls around. It's a pleasure to meet a real old-fashioned homebody for a change. I mean, wife material.
They were kind of second banana.
Now, you'll have to learn to cook. And keep house.
Marie was definitely nobody's second banana.
Women can be doctors and lawyers, and there are police women.
She represented a whole bunch of the women I grew up around. All these women who, got stuff done.
Listen, Biff, I'm getting a little tired of you calling me little lady. I have a name. The name's Maria.
It's really very, very important for us to see ourselves. We are part of the conversation. We are part of the equation. We are part of what America really is.
You take one copy.
Lista. Woo, I got it!
A lot of kids growing up in this country that are still very tied to their Latin roots. Rosita's entry into Sesame Street was a big deal. It's important to hear both languages and coming out of one little Muppet.
Hey, yeah, got an idea. See? Do you want to play Veo Veo? Oh. No, thank you.
I'm doing this segment where Rosita and her mom are in a situation that is very confusing for her because some people don't like that they're speaking in Spanish. and they tell her to speak English.
Something happened last time I played Bill with my mommy at the grocery store.
It's kind of jarring to me that in the United States, one of the greatest countries in the world, you would have to feel like you're being attacked by speaking a language other than English.
People didn't like that we were speaking Spanish and they got mad at us. They yell at us that we should speak English.
When I read the script, I couldn't go through it because I was crying because this particularly situation happened to me.
I remember going to school and being told not to speak Spanish too. It's demoralizing. It's demoralizing and it's just so hurtful.
It's important for us to try to tell the kids, hey, you have a superpower, you speak 2 languages, 3 languages.
Todas las personas son bienvenidas idiomas.
Bueno, Rosita, eso es increíble.
Sí.
In English, it's called the float, but in Spanish, it's called the carroza.
Cabeza para el otro. For many, many years, we watched thousands and thousands of episodes of Sesame Street.
Here we go.
It's just happy seeing someone that speaks your language talk on a TV show.
I grew up in Puebla, Mexico. My mom was a single mom who, wanted to build a better future for her children. So we immigrated when I was 12. Half of us are documented, and then the other half, my brother, my sister, my mom, they're undocumented, and it's just me and Michaela who are U.S. citizens, and it's heartbreaking. Es el último. Estás haciendo muy buen trabajo. A lot of the times, we are left out. So that's why I think Rosita's important. When I was 12, it was not cool to speak Spanish, right? It was not cool to speak Spanish. Now it's like a super cool thing that you have. I am so glad your mommy called the store, Rosita.
And guess what? The manager of the store said that she was sorry, and she put up a sign that said, all people and languages are welcome. You know what, Sophia? I am so proud I speak Spanish.
You should be, because Spanish is amazing.
It's so special to be part of this family, not just the Latinos, it's all of us that we come from somewhere. People forget that immigrants, they come with the dream and just a bag like I did. I just came with a bag and a lot of dreams. But they forget that we left so much, And it is beautiful, but it's hard. So yeah, she represents all the people with a lot of dreams.
I spy with my little eye somebody with a superpower who speaks Spanish.
Is it Rosita?
No, it's you.
No, it's both of us.
It's both of us. Thanks for listening.
Oh, anytime, Rosita. Anytime.
People who generally say, should you be having these conversations with kids, are afraid of these conversations.
I don't want to take their childhood away and scare them.
You people on the right sort of saw this as a gateway Muppet.
I can't recall when I've heard a more disheartening story than this one.
Children understand a lot more than people gave them credit for, and Sesame Street treated them like equal humans on the planet. Sesame Street brought in the fact that there are lots of different people on the planet. And we don't all speak the same language, we don't all look the same, but we're here together.
Today, Sesame Street reaches children in over 150 countries, and that's in over 70 languages. As we say, we like to think we've now become the longest street in the world.
It was a blessing, to have the longest street coming into South Africa.
Takalani was very, very popular. If you went anywhere and you played the signature tune for Takalani, People would just start singing, young and old.
Oh, akalani sesame, rena reali mema, sister things as runa. Takalani Sesame came at the time where there was a lot that was happening in South Africa. Remember, we were in an apartheid era up until 1994.
I greet you all in the name of peace, democracy, and freedom for all.
At the same time, it was an era where we had quite a lot of challenges.
Just when it seemed the news about AIDS couldn't get much worse, it has.
With 1,600 new cases of AIDS infection reported every day, South Africa is being ravaged by the disease.
About a third of the population carries the virus, more and more of them children.
It was a very traumatic time for us because as South Africans, we were being faced with this pandemic. It was killing people that we knew.
There was a lot of stigma associated with being infected. Stigma among young women, stigma among children.
Nobody was talking about it and nobody wanted to go for tests and nobody wanted anybody else to know that they had HIV.
Yeah,
Does she know she's ill? Does she know she's sick?
No, she doesn't know. It's not easy. In our culture, it's not easy to tell them those things.
The killer was silence.
Now, from the show that brought you Kermit and the rest of the Muppets, the latest recruit in the fight against AIDS.
Where are you guys?
Meet Cammy, the newest Muppet on the block of Takalani Sesame Street.
In South Africa,
hello,
a Muppet called Cammy, who's infected with HIV, speaks to former Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Cammy was a fun-loving 5-year-old little girl monster Muppet. She was like other children, but was still living with this disease.
What is that beautiful box?
Hey, Secret, this is the memory box that my mother made for me before she died of AIDS.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
We didn't want people to feel sorry for her. It wasn't about her getting some sympathy from anybody. It was really about how productive she is in society with the virus.
Cammy, we are not scared to play with you because we know that we cannot catch HIV just by being your friend.
Yeah, qinisile Zikho. Futhi kumnandi ukudlala nawe wena Cammy. Waze sizogibela isitimela.
And I have much more fun when I play with my friends.
What's that again?
I love her voice and her mannerisms, the softness of her, the look of her face. She's very sweet. So of course you want to embrace her. You want to hug her.
Cammy, I am Kofi Annan, and I'm very pleased to meet you.
Kofi Annan! I knew you'd be wonderful.
You have this warmth toward them. So now I can tell you why I'm here. HIV and AIDS.
My mom had HIV before she had me, so I was born with it.
Oh, so you were born with it?
Mm-hmm.
Just like you were born with your golden fern, eh?
Yes, I suppose so, monsieur.
People started coming out. People started to say, look, I'm positive. You can still hug me. You can still play with me.
In South Africa, the reception was enormously positive because it really touched the zeitgeist.
At today's press conference, Kami's introduction was broadly welcomed. Not so in America. Program makers have so far decided against including her in the US version in case it upsets young viewers.
The pushback in the US came from a very small pocket of resistance.
Sesame Street has always provided innocence. It's now going to rob them of that.
And you're forcing parents to address an issue for a 6-year-old girl or a 6-year-old boy about what I think you mean about gay sex or about drugs and needles and things like that.
People understand this was for South Africa. It wasn't supposed to be on the regular show. And people misunderstood that.
And if I understand this correct, you people on the right sort of saw this as a gateway Muppet. First, you would start with an HIV-positive Muppet. Then, of course, you need a condom Muppet, right? And an abortion Muppet, a gun control Muppet. Pretty soon you have baby blue helmeted black helicopter one world order Muppets, and we all fall like ripe fruit.
They just reacted, you know, instead of responding based on the whole story.
I remember this time vividly because there was such misinformation.
I don't want to take their childhood away and scare them.
We're not talking about scaring them. We're talking about destigmatization.
They're gonna be scared.
We're talking, but Bill, if 1 in 9 people are HIV positive, they're
Africa,
losing parents.
Not here.
They're, of course, I'm talking about Africa. That was not something I wanted to do, go on Bill O'Reilly's show. That was not something I was excited about doing.
We got it, Miss Wesson. We appreciate you
Thank you very much
Okay.
for having us.
I'm going to introduce you to my friend now. Would you mind telling folks about yourself? Because I don't think everybody knows you yet.
Oh, my name is Cami, and I am 5 years old, and I live on Takalani Sesame.
Cami did the thing that we couldn't do ourselves as adults. She allowed us to have the conversation.
I give a nice peck on the cheek. Would you like one?
I want one on the lips.
Mwah.
Okay. Trust me when I tell you, people saw a kid when they saw Cami. The thing about the Muppets is nobody wants to yell at one. Nobody wants to say anything mean to a Muppet. Nobody. You know? So wherever you're at about HIV, you're not going to be nasty to Cami.
She really spoke to how a Sesame Street character could be seen as a change agent on a global scale for adults as well as for children.
I think that everybody should be friends with each other and love each other.
And I am convinced Cami has saved lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cami.
Thank you. Thank you, Whoopi. Can I have a hug?
Yes.
Mwah.
My kids know gay people. Those people are in the world, so they should be on the block. They should be on the street.
Mark Saltzman dropped a bombshell claiming Bert and Ernie are a gay couple.
Bert's got a girlfriend. Bert's got a girlfriend.
You're not.
That denial, if you will, I think was a mistake.
I don't mean to, downplay the humans, but the stars of the show are the Muppets.
Oh, hi.
Bouncing, Elmo. You think I'm going to slip on a banana peel? What?
The suspense is driving me nuts.
1, 2, 3, stop!
This may seem like a ridiculous question, but what are you doing?
I guess my favorite one was the one Muppet without a name.
Oh, waiter.
I guess I would just call him Random Blue Guy.
Oh, no, it's you.
Grover.
This is near.
Because inside I was Grover.
This is
That said, I also related to Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster.
Cookie.
Me left me cookie at the disco. Do you know that song?
Me lost me cookie at the disco.
Elmo and everything Elmo has ever said. We better think about
I
it.
think it was Big Bird and Snuffleupagus that helped me understand how you can have an imaginary idea about life.
It's like asking me my favorite song to ask me my favorite character.
I feel like this is me all the time.
Oh, I like the Grouch.
Does the sky have to be blue every day?
It rhymes with my name. Fauci Grouchy.
It is just great to have a trash can telling everyone that they're awful.
21.
He was so cantankerous, so grumpy.
You guys just leave me alone.
Oscars are very, very funny.
Are you ready? Count 1, 2, 3, stop!
There was one particular Muppet that I always wanted to know the history of. He just disappeared.
Where is he? Now, where is that Roosevelt Franklin?
Did somebody call me by my first and last name?
Yes, I called you. And
Do you remember Roosevelt Franklin? Tell me, Roosevelt Franklin, who was he?
Roosevelt Franklin, how old are you?
Used to be one now.
Going on 2.
what you gonna do when you get 3?
Gonna look my daddy right in his knee.
Oh.
Roosevelt Franklin was the direct answer to why Sesame Street should have, at that time, an African-American puppet.
Because I'm Roosevelt Franklin.
Yeah, yeah.
Roosevelt Franklin became so popular. He got his own segment on Sesame Street.
Roosevelt Franklin Elementary School.
And it was just this great little Muppet segment that lasted a few minutes, where Roosevelt somehow is now a school teacher.
Everybody talk loud. We're all talking loud. Everybody talk soft. We're all talking soft. Now you know the difference between loud and soft. Don't tell me I can't teach.
To me, it was cool. You know, I knew those guys. You know, it was fun to watch.
Rhyme time, rhyme time.
Even though he was purplish, I could tell, like, that's a black Muppet. That's my tribe right there.
It's about the cultural feeling that translates and about the authenticity of somewhere there's a black guy named Roosevelt Franklin.
However, there was a contingent of executives, black executives, at the Children's Television Workshop, and they had a different take on how to present black experience.
I tell you the days of the week, if you get together and get me a plate of string beans, because
When there's such few representations, it has to fulfill everybody's hopes and dreams. How could Roosevelt Franklin fulfill the hopes and dreams of every African American in the United States of America? Impossible. White people can do whatever they want because they have 1,000,000 representations. There's good guys, there's bad guys, there's funny guys. But when you're a person of color, it's, oh, this is the one shot. It's got to be perfect. And so it's very sad they retired him.
When Sesame Street takes Roosevelt Franklin off the show, it's definitely a missed opportunity because the answer could have been, why don't we get more Roosevelt Franklins?
That would have been a game changer for me, had his character been allowed to develop and sort of grow with the show. Like that could have made a difference in my life.
now Roosevelt Franklin has had his say, so class is dismissed for the rest of the day.
To Sesame Street's credit, they have always been high on the index of representation.
Sesame Street has been brought to you today.
You end up seeing people who are different races, different genders, different ages. And I think that's remarkable. One thing I think Sesame Street could do better is dive into the complexities of people.
Do you have a girlfriend? Bert, do you have a girlfriend?
But I'm kind of shy with
You do?
girls. No, I don't
Bert?
have a girlfriend.
I bet you have a girlfriend, Bert.
I don't.
You do so. Bert's got a girlfriend. Bert's got a girlfriend.
I do not. I don't know. He's
got a girlfriend.
I don't talk to girls very much.
For years, there's been speculation about if Bert and Ernie are gay, and that makes sense. We are back now with Bert and Ernie, and the burning question this morning, are they best friends or something more?
Someone who used to write for Bert and Ernie, who was gay himself, said, I always wrote for them as if they were gay.
Former Sesame Street writer Mark Saltzman dropped a bombshell in a new interview claiming Bert and Ernie are a gay couple.
It was sort of an aha moment, like finally we know the truth. Bert and Ernie are gay. And I regret how Sesame handled it at the time.
Even though they are identified as male characters and possess many human traits and characteristics, they remain puppets and do not have a sexual orientation.
And I think by saying that, it almost sounded like it would be something wrong with it if they were gay. If you relate to these characters as gay, that's fine. That's what makes Sesame so special. If you relate to them as not, that's fine. But that denial, if you will, I think was a mistake.
Hey, Bert, you want to play a game?
No, I'm reading right now, Ernie.
I mean, I assume Bert and Ernie are a couple, I guess. But probably the kind of couple that maybe should have split up 20 years ago. Maybe.
You're it, Bert.
The relationship had died, stayed together for the ducks, and now have kind of had a second wave of falling in love. Just they're kind of aging together beautifully now, whilst also obviously never aging at all.
But that's what a friend is, Bert. I mean, not minding too much because you like someone.
My kids know trans people. My kids know gay people. They have those people in their lives. So those people are in the world, so they should be on the block. They should be on the street.
I think the LGBTQ plus community deserves their own unique characters, their own unique stories, their own unique representation, one is not enough. It's not enough. You know what I mean? It's not enough.
Where would our culture be without music? Where would our culture be without, Sesame Street?
Don't need a trip to the beauty shop, 'cause I love what I got on top.
Music makes everything funner.
The alphabet, beg you, ABC.
Now you add a character on top of that to actually give this energy, to me, that's a win-win.
When you want to teach somebody something, I think intonation is probably the most important tool to make something stick. I could teach you a lesson with this monotone voice, or I could teach you the lesson in a monotone voice, and you probably remember the latter more than the former. And so that's why music is necessary, because if you hear this education in a song, it sticks with you.
The alphabet, beg you, ABC.
Some skin is dark,
some skin is light.
Music is the way to lure children and adults into a world of fantasy.
My favorite sneakers, your favorite sneakers. They're not fancy, but I love them anyway.
Music, please.
We'll take a walk together, cross the road a while.
Rubber ducky, joy of joys.
My oldest daughter started to learn her ABCs because of India Arie singing ABC with Elmo.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
I think Sesame Street, I'm pretty sure it's how I learned to count to 12. I think the Pointer Sisters basically taught me what the number 12 was and what pinball was, and I liked both of them. And that song stands up. Whenever I hear 12, I still think of it in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
11, 12. And that song, that is a legit banger today.
I want you to meet my friend Gloria.
Is absolutely an effective model to teach through song.
1, 2, 3, 4, that's a way.
We have songs about the alphabet. We have songs about numbers. We have songs about racial equality.
I'm green.
It's happened through the ages. In the 60s, we saw the advent of protest songs, songs that inspired people, Blowing in the Wind, these things that had these subtle messages that we picked up on.
If you start a song about somebody's hair or about, the color of your skin, I think it's infinitely easier to relate to it. That's one of the most powerful things about music. It's a doorway that opens. Once you open that doorway with music, you can then have those more difficult discussions.
I don't need a trip to the beauty shop, 'cause I love what I got on top. It's curly and it's brown and it's right up there. Ooh, I love, that's right, my hair. I really love my hair. It's one of the best things I'll ever write. It is as close to the expression of pure joy as I'll ever have as an artist. Really, really, really love my hair. Joy Mazzarino called me up and said, I have a little black girl in my house, and I love her very much, and I don't know how to do her hair. And so I have been going to the beauty salon so that I could be taught how to braid my daughter's hair. And in the telling of that story, I'm on the phone crying. I'm like, Joey, come on, you're killing me. That's the sweetest thing yes, what are we doing? He's like, I want to write a song about I love my hair, and this is what it's going to look like. And we have our little puppet here, and she's going to be, dancing around, and she's the cutest, little girl who's going to be singing it. And I was like, done, let's go. 2 days later, I was like, here you go. And I walked around for weeks singing that song.
Don't need a trip to the beauty shop, 'cause I love what I got on top. It's curly and it's...
I remember the first time that I saw the filming of it, what they did, and because my daughter was little at the time, and I was just like, I think I might have just written a little black girl superhero anthem. This is amazing.
My hair, so I must
When the segment came out of the little black girl saying, "I love my hair," I didn't have any kids, and I was very critical of it. Like, what is this about? I love my hair, da 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 da. And then I had little black girls, and I went and got that video. I was like, oh, that wasn't for me. That was for her.
I wear it up, I wear it down, I wear it twisted all around.
I think sometimes as adults, we like to condescend to kids' things or condescend to Sesame Street maybe. So you put it in front of a kid and go, oh, I'm not seeing it the way it was meant to be seen. But now that I'm sitting here with my kid, I can see it the way it was meant to be seen.
An awesome part of me, I really love my hair. I love my hair.
I think I remember the first moment Luna brought up her hair and skin color.
Yeah.
And you don't know where it comes from, because I don't believe that they're honestly talking about it in school.
Yeah, she started it, I think, probably before she even went to preschool. She was aware that, you know, her hair was different than other kids' hair and that she was browner than other kids. You never know where they pick that up, but at some point they pick it up. And what you want them to get from that is the fact that they're different isn't less than or more than anyone else. They look different than other people, and their difference is what makes them special and what makes them interesting. It's not any kind of defect or any kind of asset that's better than anybody else's as well. You just want them to think, I'm different than my neighbor, but we're both beautiful.
Providing a lesson in song obviously makes it memorable, and the more that they engage with the song, the more they're able to apply it in different scenarios, you know, in their learning adventure.
We hope you had a great time learning all about hair on Sesame Street.
Indeed! Would you care to practice our dance some more, Gabrielle?
Yes!
Let's do it! Up, up, shake, shake, twirl, twirl, I don't care, whatever with your hair, and see you next time on Sesame Street.
Bye!
The Walker family has evolved a great deal from the inception to where we are now. One of the things that Jim Henson created at the beginning of this process was that there was no concept of race, and that these colors represented everyone. But given the times that we're in right now, there is no way to ignore the concept of race and racial identity. So the fact that they're approaching this, I think, is really very exciting.
This is so cool. They're showing you how they make Muppets. Muppets are cool because they help explain the world to you guys, even when mommy and daddy don't know how to explain it.
There's something to be said about seeing yourself in a Muppet, seeing yourself in a character. Not
That's
the
the daddy.
movie.
Look, it almost looks like your daddy. He has a beard. Shoot like daddy has.
He's got a beard like daddy. To see that, you know, kinky curly hair on somebody, or to see that maybe somebody just lives with their father. It's really the little things.
This leaf is red like Elmo's fur, and this leaf is brown like Russ's skin.
Good observation, Elmo.
I think a lot of black kids grow up thinking that their race is a problem. I want them to grow up celebrating the fact that they're different. There's a lot of beautiful things in the world. There also is a lot of trauma. There's a lot of pain. I think Sesame Street and Communities does a great job of trying to help explain those things to young people.
Hey, Carly. Hey, we know some things are hard to talk about, but we're listening.
The website Sesame Street and Communities gives them an opportunity to go deeper into content that they can't do on the show.
Carly's mommy's been having a hard time, so we are her foster parents or her for now parents.
It's much more targeted to address issues like race, divorce, foster care, and other tough topics.
Sesame Street does it unapologetically, too. They, you know, we don't live in the type of world where everyone's going to be happy tackling these subjects. But they take it on, and it can be a rough world to dive into, but they do it regardless.
When will Carly's mommy be back?
Well, we don't know for sure when that will be, but what we do know is Carly belongs here for now.
It's important to talk about tough topics like foster care and death because I was once a ward of New York State of the child welfare system. And I was in placement. And that's a very lonely and ostracizing feeling for a child.
I don't have a place. Oh, sweetheart.
And when you normalize it and when you tell that story, it makes that child feel like, okay, I'm not alone. It's not just me. And there's nothing wrong with me.
There's so many aspects of the world that we'd love to be able to shield our kids from, but we aren't able to.
Whether it's homelessness,
Elmo has some friends who don't have a house.
parental incarceration,
When my dad went to jail, it was really hard.
opioid addiction.
How come Carly's mommy had to go away?
Carly's mommy has a kind of sickness, and she had to get some help.
What we aim to do is really make sure that every child sees themselves and sees their circumstances.
The new kid on the block seems to be a little different.
Sesame Street welcomes its newest Muppet to the show today, 4-year-old Julia, who has autism.
You encounter autism every single day. It's 1 in 54 people. Before Julia, especially when my son was Sesame Street age, there was no one on television like him. He could not look to anyone and feel as though he connected. I would mention autism to other people and, it's like autism, it kind of gets whispered. I think that as a mom, sitting on the floor crying with your child because your child won't put a piece of solid food in their mouth because of texture challenges, and you're both sitting on the floor sobbing because of this, it can feel very isolating.
4, 3, 2.
Boing, 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 boing. Tag, you're it, Julia. Boing, boing, boing.
Julia wasn't this tragic character. Julia was just Julia.
Because Julia has autism, she doesn't like big hugs. So we do a starfish hug instead.
It's huge. It's huge. Having people understand and be aware is huge.
We struggle a lot with the idea of the huge word, like autism. People just say to us a lot of the times, oh, but she looks really well, right? She looks really well. They don't understand that she's so tall and then she's having a meltdown because there's a lot of people or because there's noise. So it really, Julia has been really big for us in this family.
And Julia has her own world, so do I. In my world, there's no ambulances. Just some people are different. And they can communicate differently. For me, autism is a really different way to speak and communicate to other people. Sometimes, not everything is fair.
Oh, y necesita su jarro.
It's really amazing to think that, if you break it down, she's fabric, foam, glue, thread. That's the beautiful thing about puppetry, is that we take all these materials and you make them look like a little girl, and a puppeteer brings it to life. And scriptwriters and research gives it purpose. And it's such an amazing thing to be part of this huge thing that has such an important purpose.
ومشيا على الأقدام مشوار طويل جدا يعني، فكثير كانت رحلة صعبة.
The levels of displacement have grown to 80 million people, and the funds are lessening, especially after COVID. There's less support.
Only 3% of the funding that goes to refugee crisis is allocated to education. Oftentimes we get a knock on our door of an organization or a partner or a funder coming to us and saying, would you be interested in fill in the dots? But this was a time when we said, it's the worst refugee crisis since World War II. What should we be doing?
We decided we would form a partnership with the International Rescue Committee. And I remember going to David Miliband, who led the IRC, asking if he would consider a pilot program with us.
What we at the International Rescue Committee knew was that education was systematically underfunded in the humanitarian aid system. And we came together thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to have the grassroots educational strength of the International Rescue Committee and the educational innovation and reach of Sesame Workshop?
That's when MacArthur Foundation, out of the blue, announced the first ever 100 and Change Award.
The MacArthur Foundation is launching a new competition.
It was groundbreaking. No other private foundation had ever given $100 million in private philanthropy before.
The MacArthur Foundation asked a very simple question. It was, how do you solve the world's big problems?
$100 million for a bold idea that has the potential of significantly contributing to helping to change the world. It could be anything.
And we believed that the neglect of children in war was precisely the right kind of sized problem that MacArthur wanted us to solve.
We never thought in a million years that we would win.
Oh, I never believed that. I mean, we had Big Bird on our side. We had a big idea, but also a realizable vision.
Oh, I remember the moment really well. It was a phone call to our office.
Everyone just burst into cheers and applause. It was the most incredible. We think of it as audacious philanthropy, and it has allowed us to create the largest early childhood intervention in the history of humanitarian work.
Yeah, somehow to be able to isolate those hands, but Pam's right, maybe, yeah, right in between.
Created Ahlan Simsim, which means welcome sesame in Arabic. We are in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, and over 20 countries in the Middle East because they all need quality early education.
All right, here we go.
عالم أهلا سمسم هو عالم مليء بالفرح والضحك والصداقة والبراءة والطفولة والمحبة.
Jad, he's 7 years old, almost 7, and he had to leave his home. And so he's from somewhere else. and he becomes best friends with Bosma, an adorable little purple Muppet, and there is a third little adorable character, Mazuza, just to add some comic relief. It's a little goat who eats everything.
بتمنى الأطفال اللي يحضروا المسلسل كل حدا فيهم يتخيل حاله واحد من هاي الشخصيات.
To laugh with the puppets. It's life. It's what life is. Life is about the laughter and the joy and the hope and the silliness and the exchanges. Life is not about just survival.
وعوا أفكار الولد طفل فوق معنوياته يعني فيها تعليم وتوعية للأطفال يعني فهموها أوام حسيتهم يعني أول ما لاحظت على أطفالي
بيتمنى دائما مثل ما الشخصيات يلي موجودة في برنامج أهلا سمسم عايشة ضمن جو من المحبة والصداقة والمشاعر الإيجابية. بتمنى هاي المشاعر تنتقل من هاي الحارة الصغيرة من هدول الشخصيات تنتشر وتنتقل لكل أنحاء العالم.
We're on a path, even if it's difficult. If we feel like we have something to say and a role to play in meeting the needs of children, we will step into the arena and see what we can do. I'd like to think that we've been successful in most of the cases. I can't say that we're always successful in the long term, but it's not for lack of trying. And we have to be willing to take those risks.
Kids know something is wrong, right? So you can think you're keeping it from them. You're not.
Across the country, the coronavirus forced at least 55 million kids out of their classrooms.
Never in my life would I have expected something like this. You know, you look at your kids and you think, my God, a whole year has been taken away from them.
Sesame Street was made exactly for this moment. Hi. Hi, Rosita. It's so nice to see you again.
Hola, Dr. Biden. It's so nice to see you too.
Rosita, how have you and your family been doing?
My mommy and my papi are essential workers, so they didn't stop working. And my abuela, my nana, lives with us.
You know, I know it's been a difficult time for so many kids and families.
We learned that even that things change, there are always ways you can help yourself feel better.
That's right.
Sesame Street was created over 50 years ago to use television to reach children who didn't have access to quality education. Okay, when is that more needed than today?
Across the country, the coronavirus forced at least 55 million kids out of their classrooms. They're now trying to learn at home, and it's not easy.
How's your quarantine going?
Not very good.
Are you happily working away?
No.
It's a lot, I think. And my kids can see it, I can feel it.
It's the biggest challenge I think I've ever had in my life.
It's such an unexpected thing to have to deal with. I think every parent is learning as we go. Never in my life would I have expected something like this. And you know, you look at your kids and you think, my God, a whole year has been taken away from them. But also, what a year to learn from.
Even though things may be a little different right now, Elmo's mommy and daddy say keeping a daily routine is very important.
Wear a mask in public to protect yourself and others.
It's going to be okay.
I think what they're bringing to education and to children is more relevant today than ever.
When I go outside to play in the snow, will my mittens spread the coronavirus?
Almost certainly not. I wouldn't worry about spreading the coronavirus with your gloves.
It was really about demystifying and understanding what's going on and helping kids with big feelings.
Sesame Street has always tackled sensitive problems
in a manner in which children can really understand it.
I often think to myself the last year, I wish there was a Sesame Street for adults.
Children are resilient, just like you.
Even as an adult listening, I felt a sense of comfort. The questions that children had were probably the same ones that adults had, too.
When will this be over? We want to see our friends. Why do we have to stay away from people but not our family?
Hey, Elmo, can you talk to my kids about COVID?
Elmo can bounce back. Let's bounce. Let's bounce. Bounce back from problems big. Let's bounce. Let's bounce. Bounce back from problems small. We will bounce back like you're a giant bouncy ball.
So there's the crown that goes on top of it. There, James, is a little bit of what the coronavirus looks like. Every time I got on the set to do Sesame Street, I felt my own blood pressure dropping a little bit.
Stay positive and try and find the good things that are happening right now, like being able to spend time with your family.
Whether you're a kid or an adult alike, it gave us this comfort that I think we absolutely needed throughout this pandemic.
We are made to sort of reach you where we can't physically touch you.
Forget about the kids. Adults needed Sesame Street. They needed Big Bird to tell them, this is how long it takes you to wash your hands. Start singing, sunny day. I do that.
Fact of the matter is, you're not going to explain it as well as a parent, no matter how knowledgeable you are on a subject. It always helps to have somebody come in and be able to put it in words that they can understand.
We're all feeling a little anxious, no matter how old you are. We've never been through something like this. Sesame Street was made exactly for this moment. Things really are getting better, Rosita. And you and your friends from Sesame Street are helping.
I love you, Dr. Biden.
I love you too, Rosita.
We can learn to bounce back. We can bounce back. Bounce back.
All right, nice and quiet, please. Here we go. Going to one. Let's roll the record.
Wow, that's great. Hey, what are you two making? We're making a peace tree. Oh, cool. Welcome to Sesame Street. Oh, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Every single TV show, you look back 3 years and you're normally going, you probably should have known better than that at the time. 50 years ago, they were doing incredible work and they're still doing it now.
Learn about Martin Luther King Jr.
It's just a relentless pursuit of excellence.
That's right. He stood up against racism, which means treating people in a hurtful way because of how they look.
We call my show Sesame Street for Grown-Ups because all I'm trying to do with the show is make learning entertaining. The blueprint for that is Sesame Street.
They're willing to experiment. They really think about evolving and look at what the current needs are in the moment, and they focus on that, and they just keep charging forward.
Bradley, take 3.
Sesame Street is introducing 2 new black Muppets.
Meet Elijah and Wes.
The father and son Muppet duo
Who are bringing us the ABCs of racial literacy. Take a look.
Oh, Elmo has a question.
Oh, what is it, Elmo?
Elmo wants to know why Wes's skin is brown.
Oh, I know why, Elmo. My mom and dad told me. It's because of melanin. Right, Dad?
That's right.
Melanin? Oh, what's that?
Well, melanin is something that we each have inside our bodies that make the outside of our bodies the skin color that it is. It also gives us our eye and our hair color.
Oh, and our fur color?
Yes, that's right. Exactly, Elmo.
I mean, for them to have an episode specifically about explaining race, it's because they want children to understand and to understand racism, because the more you talk about something, the more open it is.
I want the water.
You want to clean off your brush? Here. Where's your sand?
Right there.
And your sky? So what's this, the break between your sky and the water? Is that the horizon?
No, I'm gonna make the birds and stuff.
Okay, do you? Let me see. The first conversation we had with Michaela about race was the one day she came home from preschool and told me that she wished she had blonde skin. And I asked her why, and she said because one of her classmates said she couldn't be Elsa because of her hair and her skin complexion. But it's been more of a topic of conversation now.
The killing of George Floyd,
Especially since what happened over the summer.
Police has protesters taking to the streets.
One day we were getting ready to leave for school, and Michaela happened to look out the window, and she started getting frantic. She's like, the police is outside. I don't want Daddy to go outside because the police is outside.
It's a feeling that it's not easy to shake, but at the same time, I understand her pain. And for her to not want me to go out there in the presence of police is, it's frightening to me. I just think that
as parents of color with our kids, but I would flip it and say every family has to have these conversations because kids are ready for that conversation if only the grown-ups in their lives would have the courage to talk about it.
The color of our skin is an important part of who we are, but we should all know that it's okay that we all look different in so very many ways.
Well, Emma's fur is red and soft.
Oh, and my hair is black and curly.
Things on the outside, like our skin color, our hair texture, our noses, our mouths and eyes, make us who we are. Many people call this race.
Isn't it cool, Elmo?
Very cool.
Wes still has his black boy joy. He's a happy kid. And I think sometimes that narrative is missing when people view black children.
The Walker family is an effort to address some of those dramatic issues, but at the same time, it's a family that celebrates because there's also so much to celebrate. That's what families are telling us when it comes to their culture, their own experiences.
what color is that?
It's white.
No, it's black.
blue.
Black.
Yes.
Thank you.
But thank you, black.
We want to be able to teach our young daughters that their black is bright, their black is beautiful, and the joy and celebration of being black is fun.
When I was 3 years old, my mom taught me 5 B's about who I am, my culture, and my ethnicity, and it's only right that I share them with you.
Your black is beautiful. Your black is brilliant. Your black is bold. Your black is brave. Your black is bright.
That quote that I came up with for her, I would recite it with her every day, twice a day in the mirror, and make sure that she's seeing herself for who she is. I feel that my daughters should be able to understand that they are strong, and they should stand strong in their power.
Chris, did you hear that?
Yes.
We haven't realized Elijah's wife and Russ's mom, Naomi, yet, but she's a Caribbean American. She went to Howard University. She's a social worker. She loves meditating with Wes. She loves having dance parties in the living room. And finally, we have Savannah. Savannah is Elijah's mom and Wes's grandma, and Wes and Savannah have a very close and loving relationship.
Oh, look, Elmo. This leaf looks just like us.
The role of popular media, books, TV, movies, the role is paramount because pop culture drives so much of what we think, of what we believe, of what we know, of what we understand, of what we think is important, of what we think is unimportant.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful together.
And when those things can move, they move culture with it. They move us.
That's a cut.
That was lovely.
I thought it was really
I thought that was
Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a beautiful crowd you are. My name is Sonia Manzano. And you might know me because I played Maria on Sesame Street for a very long time.
Wait, Elmo is excited. Yeah, we just named 63rd and Broadway Sesame Street. It's official.
Well, it's just really kind of an amazing thing. Now when people ask, how do you get to Sesame Street? I just point right over there.
50 years of extraordinary programming, 50 years of making people's lives better. The show made a choice long before most of the media had done it, to show all of us.
Sesame Street was way ahead of the curve when it came to representation and being able to see yourself on screen. It's a little bittersweet to think about it now. We have the first Black and Asian vice president in Kamala Harris, but there's still so much work to be done in terms of having that kind of visibility. And it's really to Sesame Street's credit that they have been doing this for the past 50 years.
For 5 decades, the residents of Sesame Street and their famous friends have made learning fun for preschoolers.
Each generation feels safe and secure. They feel the kindness and the warmth of the show.
Here I am now, introducing it to my daughter. That to me is the beauty of the legacy of Sesame Street.
Like we say in Spanish, que sigue la tradición. It's a tradition now.
We're not just another children's media organization. We are trying to make a difference in children's lives. And we know we can if we can reach them. It's harder than people can even begin to imagine. It's hard to raise the funds. It's hard to tackle the issues we tackle. It's hard to be in places around the world where we are. But boy, it's a privilege.
When I moved here to the United States, my dad told me, just make sure you are making the most change that you can. So it is very personal. I know that I'm creating something that is going to go to a family and to a child. And sometimes that family and that child are going through really unthinkable things.
For parents and for their caregivers, they're so happy and grateful to see their children who've been suffering so much have that moment of levity and joy.
I measure my legacy by some of the letters that I've received. And I have a letter that I cherish, and it has no return address. But the man says, I am Black, gay, lived in a poverty-stricken environment in a family that did not accept my gayness. And if it wasn't for you guys, I don't think I would have believed.
Can impact our young children.
Sesame has shown that as long as you're looking to do the work, there's work to be done.
We have permission to go there and to be bold and tackle topics that others don't feel comfortable doing. And it's because we've always been doing it.
There's no limit on this world constantly changing and kids always being curious. That cycle is never going to end. That's why Sesame Street is never going to end.
Sesame Street is everything, A to Z.
Sesame Street is magic.
Sesame Street is forever.
We're shifting societies. It's not always really politically correct to say that because it's thought of as kind of revolutionary, but Sesame is revolutionary.
Sesame Street is amazing.
Sunny days, sweeping the clouds away. Friendly neighbors there, that's where we'll meet. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?